Today is just our intro day because we have such a tight schedule, um, in the beginning. So it just makes it a whole lot easier to do that so that because you have a limited amount of time to drop the class if you were going to drop it. So I'm trying to make sure that everybody is basically set up, you know what you have, you know what you need, that kind of stuff. So that, you guys don't get the, the difficult part of it. It's like, hey, wait a minute, let me see. I'll pop this over. There we go. Make it a little bit easier. Hi, guys. So, let's see here. So welcome to the summer session. I know we're going to get a few more people probably trickling in. I record all of these, so I'll just send it out for you guys so that when, for people who didn't make it, hopefully they will look at the video, or if you missed something that you'll be able to actually check it out and just go back and see. But this is our first time that the class is exclusively online, and whether it'll be the only time, I'm not really sure. I know that we are scheduled in the fall, at least my classes, which I'm teaching this 3D modeling and animation, intro to animation, which is this class, and motion graphics, which is where we're going to be working with video and green screen and stuff like that. All those are going to be, as it stands, hybrid in the fall. So that basically means that we would essentially be going in, and you'd have your lessons online in the form of videos, and then you would come in split classes during the days. So so we'll probably have to have more of a cap on how many students, because we're going to have to divvy it up. I still am getting information on how that's going to work, but like we would have half the class come in, like if it's a Tuesday class, half a class on a Tuesday and the other half on a Thursday. And then that way, and I'd be there all the time. So, and that would give you the opportunity to work on the computers there as well as meeting with me and stuff like that in a non-virtual way. But you'd still have the lesson, so it would be good if you have the computer and whatever at home to be able to do that if you're gonna, just for the fall course. For this course, it's entirely online, right? And I wanted to touch down, like I said, with you guys based off of the fact that so that you can actually see what we're doing and that kind of stuff, so that you can actually make sure you have the right computer before you go nuts on it and get all excited and start to do it, and then realize after the date that you can drop that you may not have the hardware to do it. So good question. So and I don't have your name other than what you're on, which is Samsung. So someone asked, will our assignments be on Canvas or Insight Portal email? That's a good question. It's actually going to be in two places. It's going to be, the assignments are on Canvas, and I'm about to show you that in just a minute. And where you're going to turn them in are going to be on Canvas and on a special site that you guys will have to, register onto, called VoiceThread. So I'm going to go over that, but that's a good question. So your assignments and everything, may as well start with that. Let me show you guys, and then I'll open it up. You can always like send me a message or text. And let me see like through the chat. No. Here we go. So, all right. So when you go to Canvas, and you should have access today. I apologize because I was under the impression that you guys get access early. You just didn't start. And then afterwards, they're like, no, they don't get it till Monday. And I'm like, well, great. And that's why I sent out that information in the emails with the video and links and stuff like that. So when you're on Canvas and you log in and you go to the class, which you should, if you're already registered, you'll be there. Ooh, a bunch of questions. Okay. Oh, hey, Paul. So I'll answer these questions in just a second. So basically, yes, it is. We're doing 3D animation for the most part. So that is one of the tough points is needing the computer that will be able to run Maya, because that's what we're going to be doing our animation in. At the end of the last term, I tried spreading it out, and I got some really cool stuff, but it is really hard to manage everybody doing something different. Even though we got some really cool stuff, it was just like a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of research and a lot of stuff. So I'm kind of sticking to, we have to use Maya at least for right now. Just because it's very difficult to support multiple outputs all at once. And we'll talk about what that is in a second. Typically, you need a computer that can run games that are up to like a few years old. It doesn't have to be like monstrous, but what you're looking for, just like in the video, is basically a computer that has either an AMD or an NVIDIA card in it. And that usually, as long as it's a few years old, you're good. That means stuff like...
So are we talking like BioShock, or does it need to be able to run like Resident Evil 2?
No, really, if it runs either one, you should be good.
Okay.
And this is what you're looking for, and I put it in the video, is what you're looking for is a computer that does not exclusively only have an Intel HD card.
Please request recording permission from the meeting.
Huh?
Quiet. Be quiet.
So let me show you just a device manager. So I'm typing in my little bar here, device manager. I click here. And this tells me what's in my computer. And what we're looking at is where it says display drivers. There should be either NVIDIA or AMD Radeon or something like that here. If it only says Intel HD, it probably is not going to work right because of what the software is. If you play games that are, like a few years old, and if you have a question to it, just send me like, go here and then tell me what's in here. But if it only says Intel HD, it's probably not going to work right. If it is a Chromebook, it won't work. It has to be either a Windows or a Mac that has an NVIDIA or an AMD card. And at least for right now. So that's one of the, it doesn't have to be like, oh, the newest one, but something in the last few years.
So if it says, you said if it says Intel Core, it doesn't work?
Well, Intel Core is the CPU, usually. The display adapter is where you would see what the video card is. If it says like Intel Iris, Intel HD, or something like that, if it just says only Intel and there's no NVIDIA, no AMD, it probably won't work.
But Intel HD works?
If it has Intel and only Intel, I would probably say no.
It says Intel HD graphics 6000.
Most of the time they don't. The only way of really trying it is to download it and see, but historically Intel cards,
I have the same computer, but I was able to download Maya on there, and it seemed to be working fine.
if it's running, what'll happen, let's see, what do we have? Intel HD 6000, what do we got? The best way of trying it out, let me see what you got in here. DirectX 12, that's good. Here's, okay, it's the slightly before GeForce. Here's the best way of doing it. This is the #1 way. And I would challenge anybody if you have it and you want it, because I hate turning people off for it, but I also don't want you to lose money and be frustrated. Go and download Maya and see if it runs. It may chug a bit or whatever, but you want to see if it runs. So this one, the specs aren't that bad. I mean, it's definitely a slower speed, but it actually runs DirectX 12, which is important. So here's what I would do. And you can even do it right now if you can while we're talking. If you go and try to download it and see if it runs, and to do that, remember you go to Autodesk, Maya, student free. I can tell you right now, it's only, so if you have a Chromebook or something like, or an iPad, it's not gonna, it has to be either, preferably a PC, but a PC or a Mac, you know. And if I go into there and I go Intel Maya student free, here it is, Maya student and educator software. And you have to create an account, right? So you get an account here. Oh yeah, a GTX 1070 is perfect. You'll be fine. You create an account. They'll ask you what school you go to, because this is a student license, right? So you say Las Madonnas. Sometimes it gives grief, and sometimes it's listed. Sometimes occasionally drops off for some strange reason. I don't know, but it should be in there. And if it isn't, there's a spot where you can actually add it, and they may ask you to send your unofficial transcript that you're enrolled, or show how that you're enrolled. That's easy. You can get that from Insight. Once you get, do all that, it'll send you a license. You sign in, right? And you go through here. And then you'll choose what version, it would be well, what school am I? Oh, it's a university or post-secondary. Add to profile. Oh, this is new. Huh. Here's they added stuff. And yes, you'd have to verify all this stuff. Oh, good Lord. Yes. Well, it actually is good because you can see how this is working. I've always had it under this. You may have to use just your school ID or license. It shouldn't, and watch, it actually jacks me up. Yes, of course. Las Madonnas. And we could see I do that, and it's trying to do the whole auto in there. Stop, it's hiding it because of this. It's so annoying. Yeah, I figured. So it's being blocked by, oh, this is the other thing when you're on Canvas, if you're having problems with Canvas, make sure that you are using Chrome for it. I'll do this afterwards, but after you do it, it's trying to fill it out for me, and it's blocking me from doing it. So I'll deal with that later. But once you actually do that, then you pick which version, what operating system, all that good stuff, and install. And then you should be good. And when you see, there's actually an Autodesk desktop app that you can download and log in and do stuff. And then you can actually, oh, I can update and, you know, like, oh, there's an update for Maya 2020. I need that. So I'll have to update it there. And then I would see all that stuff listed. Okay. So I'll deal with that later, but that's basically it. Once you have it installed, you can even install just the trial if it's giving you grief for a moment while you're working on that, or while you're waiting on it, and then just switch over to it. See how it runs. Yeah, it does have to be Chrome. Let's go away, Steam. So yeah, use Chrome. I know like there's a lot of other browsers, but most LMS and most sites are actually optimized for Chrome. So whenever you go to Edge or Firefox or Safari or Opera and all these, they're great, but they have a problem. Angela, oh, hold on. I have a string of questions. So before I continue, let me try and answer a few. Let's see here. Pavilion work, it would depend on what's under the hood, what graphics card. So if you check that and then see the GTX 1070, you're good, you're awesome. What time of day will the class be meeting online? So it is basically lined up with how your class would have been if it was on grounds, actually less. So if it was on grounds like it normally is, it would have been Monday through Thursday, like afternoon for about, you know, a few hours each. Since it's an online format, it's been modified. So we will be meeting regularly Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 for a few hours. Now, here's the thing about that. All the instructions, so when you go in, because this is all related, let me actually view this as a student so you can see. So you're going to see something like this, which is the modules, right? Go through the introductory stuff if you haven't already. And then our first assignment for 2 weeks is going to be modeling and building a set for our animation and just getting used to the tools and the software. Then we get into animation and character posing. And then we will, oops, oh, I got to, there was something I was adjusting. So then you'll have one more, I have to publish it, which will be our final character animation. So as you go through these and then you'd click on them, it's going to give you what the information is, links, stuff like that, examples of student work and what some of the, you know, grades would be. And then as you go through, then you would see some videos, and then you would get to the instructional videos that you would follow at home. So these are the things that you would follow and do at home. I'm not making it a full-on requirement to meet with like every class date. We'll be meeting Tuesdays and Thursdays. I will be there for a few hours on those days from 12 to typically about 3 o'clock, right? However, it's important for you to turn in. If you attend those, that counts as attendance. You also have to do weekly check-ins where you post up your progress, and I'll go over that in a few minutes. So what I don't want is people disappearing for weeks and my not knowing, are you still in the class or not? And then all of a sudden at the end, you drop a bunch of stuff and say, yeah, you know. So that is the thing that you want to be careful of, right? You know what? And I will stop my video so you can see all my screen. It'll make it a little easier. So when you're looking at all of this and you're seeing like all these links and stuff here, this is the stuff that you want to, you know, kind of go through and what, you know, and go through the videos, and they should be fine for you to just go through on your own. Tuesdays and Thursdays is for critiques, and it's for question and answer and demonstrations. And I also talk about industry stuff and show you guys cool software. We talk games, we talk animation. So it's a pretty fun get together. So that's just one of those things where you will see all that stuff. And I muted you just so we cut down on the back chatter. So unmute yourself when you want to say something. Don't forget that just in clicking at it. But that's where you would actually go for these. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 till about 3 o'clock. So you can come in, ask questions. I do demonstrations. I typically go over and demonstrate what we're going over. So that's the best times to come in to get help and have me walk you through stuff and show you stuff. Okay. But those would be the times. So Tuesdays and today was just a special day because I wanted to reach out to you guys. So that answers that. We talked about the browser. If you have lower than 8 conflicting, okay. If you have RAM lower than 8 gigs, it won't work in general. It could. If you have a good video card and you have under 8 gigs around, like some computers have 4 gigs. It could work. It's just that the more RAM you have, the faster it'll run. Once again, download it, try it out. So what's happening with that is typically your machine will start to run slower, right? So you should be able to, but that would be the only issue, is that right there, is that you're going to have, it might be a little slower. Fortunately, we're not going to be doing anything to like movie quality. So it shouldn't be that crazy, So to give you an example, let me just show you share computer sound. Hopefully we won't get some weird stuff. I'm gonna go back to modules, student examples. Oh, there you are. I was like, where did it go? These are examples of the first assignment, things that people did. Second assignment, third assignment, character poses, and then the final. This was a student piece that a student did.
Those are awesome.
No, they're not awesome. There's a big difference between awesome and extremely expensive.
So how did you get the money to buy all those swords? That's just so cool.
I don't have the money to buy all these swords.
Well, how do you get them?
I gotta return them.
Why?
Because I don't want swords,
Why
Brendan.
don't you want swords?
Who would want swords?
I do.
All right, you want to buy them?
No.
Why?
Because I don't have any money.
Well, then you're sharing and understanding my problem.
Why'd you buy them?
Well, it's complicated, Brendan.
Well, what's so complicated? I can understand it. Why?
You don't understand.
No, I could probably understand.
You would never understand unless you lived alone.
So you live by yourself and when you get lonely and buy swords? I don't understand.
Well, you nailed it.
Love this. This was a student who took the second class. So he'd been through the class you're going through, and then in the second class, you get to choose what your project is and work on it, like the animation, the whole project, or modeling or whatever. That's Art 86. So he had went through Art 85, which is this one. And it's not Bob's Burger. It's Home Movies, one of my favorite older cartoons. It's hilarious. Conflicting class in question is 12:45 to 2:50, Monday through Thursday. So what you can do, are they requiring you to be there every day for it? Is that it, Julia? Yeah, okay. So yeah, I can work with you. It really is going to depend, if you have the hardware and you're doing it, of how much that, I can stay a little bit longer afterwards and we'll adjust, I can adjust the time. I just have to do something a little bit later, but if need be, I can stay later. That's just the only thing that you have to, how comfortable you are in computers and how well, as far as following videos, so I'm okay with it. I can stay a little bit later on some of those days, Especially Thursday is a lot easier. Tuesday is a little more difficult because I have something else on Tuesday after the class. So I could probably stay till like 3:30. So you wouldn't get as much time, but like on Thursdays, and we could figure something out. I teach at multiple colleges. So this is one of them. Another one I teach is the Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design in Colorado, where I teach game design and texturing and lighting and game levels through Unreal. So in a couple of weeks, I will be teaching Monday, Wednesday, Friday for, a few hours a day. So my schedule will be a little bit tighter, but on Thursdays, I'll be able to hang out a lot longer, and Tuesdays, I'll be able to hang out for a little bit. So if you're comfortable with that, then I am. But you just want to make sure that you do consistently turn in weekly. And where you guys will be turning in besides the, let me go back to the modules. So you'll be turning in things in two places. When you go here, you'll submit your assignment here, but you'll also submit it. Oh, that's weird. Why is that broken? Why are you broken? So I'll have to do that. So I'll show you. But it will also be through VoiceThread. So when you click here, you're going to be taken to VoiceThread, which is where we're going to do our critiques and stuff. And this is where you guys will turn in. So if we look at the last class, this was how their VoiceThreads looked. So when you guys go to it, you'll post up your videos and stuff like that. And you'll go in and post it, and then we'll be able to see those different images or videos that you post, and you'll be able to click. So you'll be required once a week to post wherever you're at, what you're doing, and then make comments. So I could type in like, oh, hey, this looks really awesome. I love how the lighting is and the details, and be specific to it of whatever is here. And we'll go over that in a second, but this is the other place. So you'll post in two spots, right? So you'll be posting inside of the assignment, and you'll be posting in VoiceThread once a week. How many cores if I go Intel or AMD? Oh, you mean for the CPU? It really, Maya, and what we'll be doing is more for, it depends a lot more on the graphics card than the CPU. So if it has a good graphics card, you're good. I mean, it could be 4 cores. I mean, if you have 2 cores on your CPU, then yeah, it'll probably not run. It'll still run, but it'll probably be chugging a little bit. But most of the work is done on the graphics card. That's why the graphics card is so important. So when I actually go in, let me just load it up here. It'll take a second, but that is basically it. What do you put in the institution tab when signing in? You should put Las Madonnas. It should show up in there, Las Madonnas Community College. If it doesn't, try looking for like Contra Costa, because sometimes they buckle it under. It's weird. I don't really get why they keep doing that to us, but it also happens at one of the other colleges I go to. And this is Maya. So, oh, cool. Yeah. If you're a gamer and you have a gaming machine, you're good. But most of it is the video card. If you are still having problems, institution type would be post-secondary or university, and then it should be typing in the name. But if you just if you go in there and go through the, through the info, you should be good. And then let me know if you don't, for some reason, if it's acting kind of wonky and weird. But once you get in and this program looks more intimidating than what it actually is. So don't fret too much. I know it's a little intimidating, and I know I'm dropping a lot of info on you, and that's why I wanted to meet with you guys before we officially start going over material and stuff tomorrow. Because much to my annoyance, we have such a short window, and I don't want anybody to, oh man, I didn't know, and then you have to drop the class and it's too late, and and just stuff like that. But once you actually have it and you're starting to do stuff, let me just lock out 17. Just pop this in, don't save. And remember, I have you all muted, so if you want to talk, just unmute yourself, and then you can say something or just text me in the chat, either one. But this is another example. This is a block out I haven't finished, but something I did. But if you have an older machine, things will run a little bit slower, and this is longer. The animation you guys have to do is only 10 to 15 seconds. It is not going to be as long as this. I was just doing this, showing students how to do it, and I just haven't finished it yet, but.
In a world where laughter was king.
No, in a world, Jack.
What do you mean, no, in a world?
It's not that kind of movie.
Oh? Okay. In a land that...
No, in a land either.
In a time...
I don't think so.
In a land before time.
It's about a comedian, Jack.
One man.
No.
When your life is no longer your own.
What does that mean?
When everything you know is wrong.
That's wrong.
In an outpost.
No.
On the edge of space.
There's no space.
A girl.
No.
Two girls.
No.
Now.
No.
More than ever.
Stop it.
A renegade cop.
I hate you.
A robot renegade cop.
You're fired.
So yeah, still working on this one. Let's see. My HP has 8 gigabytes RAM and high octane. Check and 16 gigabytes of Intel Optane memory. CPU wise, you're good. It's the GPU you have to look for. And remember, that's where you go. Device manager. And like I said, you seem like you have some stuff going on there that'll like speed things up. So download it and check it out. Do it today. Even if it's just the trial version that you can run through. But this is where you see the video card, right? Even if it's an older GeForce or an older AMD, or if it is a Intel, you're going to have to download it and check. There's so many like little Intels, but they are not all equal, and most of them give a lot of issues. But if you can do it and pull it up and it's running, then you should be good. But that is basically the idea. Oh, good question. How long is the course? The course is 6 weeks. So we end, hold on. We end, let's go. And here's another spot. I can go to the calendar. And if you go through the calendar, there's this session today. Here's the sessions here. You'll be able to look at that, and there's the link and all the times that we'll be I'll be online to help you guys out. And the last session is July 23rd. Okay. So those are our sessions that we'll be having. And you can see, if you ever like, oh, well, Garn, what was it? What was there? You could see right here, it's like, oh, there's the session, 6 weeks full, boom. Ignore some of this stuff down here. It ends on the 23rd. Oh, why is that there? I'll have to check that. But the 23rd is our final critique, final animation. That is it. Oh, this is a weird leave over. I'll have to fix that. That popped in weird. Okay. No, it's not at 7 p.m. So, yeah. I'll fix that later. But this is basically, you can see when certain things are due, and you'll be able, oh, there's by Sunday night, the character pose and the ball bounce animation and voice thread check-ins. So final renders for the room. So you'll be able to go through here and be able to see those so that you always know when those things are going to be due or available. But you want to go through your modules, look at it in here, and then look through it. And if you have questions, let me know. There's another module. I just have to tweak out one thing. I didn't post it up yet because I have to tweak something, but that's like weeks from now. So that is basically the deal with that. You know, and in the announcements, I will occasionally like pull out, like this one was the, hey, here's the welcome announcement that has, you know, certain info, you know, this introductory video, policies for the wait list, all that. Okay. And this is how to look up what video card, CPU, and RAM you have. What do we got? More questions. Ooh, a bunch of more. Let me see. Let me go backwards. What is the workload? So the workload is basically if you want to think about it, how the online class works is it is essentially the spring or fall condensed. So it's kind of expected that you're going to put, you know, a fair amount of hours into it. That being said, it's going to depend on the person of how well they can do it. So you basically have a check-in every week. If you stick to the videos going through them per week, April 24th. If you go through them every week, you're going to be doing definitely a few hours of work, just like you would if you were in class. 1 week in the summer is the equivalent of 2 weeks during spring or fall of material, because, you know, it's like, that's why usually people don't load up during the summer as much as they might do during spring or fall. However, I've seen people like often like, oh, this is the only class I have, or I only have this and one other class. I would say that you're going to be doing probably about, if you want to stay current, you could do about, if you're moving at a good pace, you could do anywhere from, it's hard to say, it depends on how much people, you know, how much you're supposed to put in clock hours is the same amount it would be for the spring and the fall. I think you can do it in anywhere from 5 to 10 hours a week, maybe more, depending on the quality of work and what you want to do, right? So the room assignment is really, to do the bare minimum is not that much, but that's also C work, right? To do more and to get everything you can, you're going to do more hours in it, right? I would say that depending, like most of the tutorials take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes to go through. But if you follow them, they walk you through how to do everything. So I would say that you should put aside at least 10 hours a week of work. I mean, realistically, can it be done? I would say, you know, in less or more, it depends, right? Hold on, going down. I hope that answers. Also, there are about 3 assignments that were in April and May. I was wondering what those were about. So you basically have, these are project-based, which means you are always building on an assignment, okay, on a project, rather than 20 random things. Everything you work on builds to bigger assignments, except for the, like, 2 of those assignments are really short, right? So, oops, that's not the one I wanted to show. Sorry. Let's see. So let's look at that. Okay. And so if I look at this, and there will be another one that'll be 3 weeks. Your final piece, which isn't here, is 3 weeks long. Most of these are tutorials and demonstration that describe things. Okay. So you have 2 weeks to work on this assignment of modeling individual pieces for a room and then going nuts. So the whole idea is that the bare minimum for the room assignment is to model a chair, a table, and a light fixture. That is the absolute bare minimum. You could do that easily in a, you know, depending on how comfortable you are, in a couple of days, right? If you're really like, oh, I'm getting this and nuts, you could do it in a day. It depends on the person. If you're struggling with technology, it might take longer, right? But that's a C project. If I go in and see like these guys where I give you the room and then they modeled everything you see in here, okay? If you want that, then that's where it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to be doing a lot more time. So you're going to get what you put into it, right? But the bare minimum would be a corner of the room that has a table, a chair, maybe a monitor, a light fixture. But I go over how to make the basics of how to do a couch, how to do different types of light fixtures, and how much you put into it is how many hours you're going to do. But the bare minimum isn't that much, but it's also a C, right? The next assignment, this one only takes a couple of days. I'm actually going to, even though it's listed, I'm probably going to give you guys like the whole week to do these 2 assignments. But this one should only take a couple of days, which is the ball bounce. We learn how to set keys. We want to show weight and render it out. And we're going to have a bowling ball, a ping pong ball, and a beach ball. And you animate those. And I show you how to do 2 of them. And then you have to do the beach ball on your own. So if you follow the videos, you will be able to just immediately do it if you follow the videos, right? It's the fine tuning and getting it better that will actually show that. This should only take a couple of days, and it's the 3rd week. This is also in the 3rd week, which is showing poses. This is where, now that you know how to set keys, now we get in and we start learning how to control and pose the character, its face, its body. This isn't animated, we're just showing poses, and you're gonna choose between 3 different emotions. You can't tell us what the emotion is, but you have to pose the whole body and the face to show that emotion. And then during the critique, if you nailed it, most everybody should be able to say, oh, that person's sad, that person's angry, that person is whatever, right? What you learn from the character posing it and doing the characters goes into the final animation. Now we put these poses in motion and we start to show, and we do lip sync. And this we'll spend a few weeks on, right? So
Those are awesome.
So 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 weeks. And that'll be the breakdown of it. And every week you're going to post what's where you're at, your check-in for feedback. As a digital artist, this is something, if you work at Pixar, if you work at, you know, any of these animation places, game places, you're going to have to literally show your work every week so that you can get feedback to make it better, right? And this is no different. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to look rough. It's supposed to look weird. But that is basically how you actually get these. That is basically what you get to get the best work. Okay, oops. Hopefully I answered that for Tristan. Angel, what do I put in the enrolled from and graduate in tabs? So enrolled from is when you signed up at LMC, like when did you start? And graduate is the estimated when do you plan on graduating. For you guys, I would assume that most of your estimated graduations are probably not until, you should have done this with your school counselor or your the person who sets up your plan, but it doesn't mean it's rock solid. Things happen, you know, but usually, you know, it's a 2-year college, so it's like whatever. Oh yeah, I started last summer or something, then 2 years later would be when you'd assumably you would graduate. So if you pull up your unofficial transcript, which you go into Insight and you look it up, you should be able to find it fine. But you can, that's usually what it is. It should be listed somewhere in when you go under your profile under Insight, under your information. I don't have access to it, but you should have access to it. And if you have any questions, you can always call the school and get that info, but you should be able to access it when you signed up and all that kind of stuff, that it should be available to you. The April 24th date surprised me in the past assignments. April 24th. Oh, is that showing up? Oh, yeah, no, that's hanging from the last class for some reason. I tried clearing it out and it's sticking in there for some reason. So no, ignore that. Yeah, it's kind of weird. You should be fine here. And Canvas has been a little funky. So, but yeah, if you have any questions on due dates and stuff, let me know, but it should be inside of the individual module assignment when that one is due. If it's off or something, like, like this is, why are you June 28th? Yeah, that's right. June 28th for that. That's right. July 5th, July 2nd, and then you'll see the other ones that are down there. June 21st. So you can see some of these, okay? So that was basically it. Yes, the Zoom meeting is being recorded, and then I'm gonna send you guys the link so you'll be able to view it later, and everybody who missed. Any knowledge of animation, 2D or 3D, will help you because it's all relative. Animation is animation regardless of the medium. It's just that you have different tools, right? So when you're doing animation in 2D and 3D, and one of the things we will be talking about will be the principles of animation. And if you go under files, you will see that I have lots of different files that are inside of here. How can we access Canvas if we are waitlisted? Oh, okay. I'll answer that in just a second. So don't worry about Mudbox yet. Mudbox is the digital sculpting program. I'm gonna do that. Maya is the most important one. If you're having issues, I know they're probably overrun with people downloading stuff, so that could be part of it. And make sure you're downloading the educational version. There's also an option when, and mine, I'm gonna have to solve this afterwards because it's acting weird, but there's also an option when you go to download and install, there's this little tab right here, and then you can choose different options for installing. And if one doesn't work, like one's through, I think, the browser, one is through, I forgot what the other designation is, but if one doesn't work and it's giving you grief, try that. Also, be careful of, like if you have a ton of hardcore virus software on while you're trying to install some of these, they sometimes don't like it. So you may have to turn it off temporarily while you're doing that, you know, and then see if that works. Because sometimes they block them a lot. You'll see like a little red something or other pop up here that something was blocked, and then you click on it. So just check those out and then see if that actually helps. If you're waiting to access Canvas, so what's going to happen as soon as I am done with this, here's what for my waitlist students, which I also invited, so you guys should be here right now, hopefully, is I am going to, what I want you to do, just to verify that you were here, shouldn't be that many, I want you to send me an email, or you can send it privately through this chat. Just send it directly to me, your full name and your student ID, okay? And then I will add you in right after we're done with all of this. You know, so if you're on the wait list, and that's why I invited you guys, so that, you know, it's like, because the whole thing is a little bit weird and I don't want you guys left behind. So either send it in an email or just send it through the Zoom chat, but directly to me, your full name and your student ID. And then I will add you right afterwards, and then you'll have to complete the ad. So check later on this evening and then just finalize it and you should be good. But yeah, just send me that and then I can pop it in. I didn't want to put people in because sometimes people don't show up and then they're in it and then they're like, wait, I didn't go. And then, so I want to verify that first. Since I got it on the 5th, no, I'm first. I had 5 students on the wait list, and I naturally expected that some people, if nothing else because of hardware, were going to have to drop the class. So yeah, it should be pretty easy to pop that in. It should not be that difficult. So I will be able to send, set you guys up as, just send me the info. And as soon as I'm done here, I will, I'll be able to add you in. But yeah, I haven't checked it this morning to see what the numbers are. So yeah, so I'll check that afterwards and then see. But yeah, this is where you'll find in the files of Canvas, once you get there, where you're going to see all the resources, documents, and written in PDF tutorials and references, and then the descriptive data sheet, Maya files to download, which you'll also have to download. I almost forgot. The files are zipped because some of them tend to be a lot. So what you'll have to do is, God, what was it called? 7. So if you download 7-zip to be able to open up those files, because they're going to be zipped, which means they're compressed, and then you'll have to extract them, and then you'll be able to load them up. So if you do that, for some of the files, like the Andy project, which is this character project here, this little guy, then that's all, that's all you'll need to open it up, besides of course Maya, and then Audacity to edit the sound that you're going to grab to do the animation. So I snagged this from a commercial that was for a movie where they were making fun, called The Comedian, Jerry Seinfeld's Comedian. So I snagged that and captured the sound and then brought it into Maya and then started to animate to it, for that. So that's going to be one of those things that once you do that, you'll be up and running, but download it and check and see first. Do that today so that you can make sure that you're, that you got everything all set up, and that way you'll be good, where I was looking for, I'll find it someplace. I'll find out where that one is. But yeah, once you actually do that, I think you'll be good. And then you won't have any problems, or shouldn't, as long as you can get past the whole, I've got, as long as you get past the hardware stuff, you're good. I can work with you schedule-wise, but you have to stay in contact with me weekly and turn in stuff. That's the only thing that you have to be careful of, that a lot of times people, they disappear, and then I don't hear from them, and and then it's like, where is it? And I'm like, so there it is. So set project. But there we go. then you can start to have fun with the stuff and learning this software. This is the same software that is used for things like most of the video games we play, I'm a gamer, and movies, everything from the Avengers to, you know, anything that's all about the CG. So when you see that, this is the software, the professional software that they use. And as a student, you get a 1-year free license to it. If you're still taking courses a year later, you just renew it. So, but then you're able to do, like, you know, this is another one I'd started working on. Never mind the weirdness that's there. It'll still loading. So here's another one I was showing. We're going to use this character called Andy, which he can be changed, the features to what you want. And then you have all these little controls and stuff that you start to move and, you know, start to adjust, and facial controls that you can, you know, kind of look and adjust, and you set keys for. And then you bring in your sound.
Brenda, it's Alice's night. Stop making yourself the center of attention!
Me? I ask you lovely people, am I making myself the center of attention?
Do you always have to hog the spotlight? Can't you let Alice, who's sitting here with me, have one night? What kind of a sister are you?
I will not be talked to that way.
So it gives you an idea. You can have a lot of fun with it. Changing their little expressions, doing the mouth animations, and just going kind of nuts with how the controls are. And like I said, oops, let's get you back, where you can actually have a fair amount. Let's see what, where you can actually do all these nice little controls and adjustments to the character. And get into doing, you know, all the fun stuff with it. So that's our build up. That's where we go to. You know, that is the goal, is to work our way up to this. And then we learn how to, I can model up props and stuff like that. And then, you know, attach them to the character's hand, and then just have like a 10, 15 second. And if you want to get ideas of what you want to do, start thinking now for that. And then go to something like the 11-second club, where this is a monthly challenge that they have during the year of different mediums, where they get and you can also use one of their sound files, go into the archives or the current one. This one has 15 days left, and then you play.
I'm excited and I feel relaxed and I'm ready to party with the best of them.
But they do it in different mediums so that you can actually see pencil, 3D. Usually you do not have enough time to do claymation of that much in 1 month. It takes way too long.
I'm excited and I feel relaxed and I'm ready to party with the best of them.
So you can actually download these files and then use that if you wanted to use one of these, and that'd be perfect too. So, but check out like these guys for like different examples. You can see some are doing 2D, some are doing 3D, and then they have archives of tons of different ones for every month. And just here's where you would download the sound file for it, and then look at just some of the cool stuff that they've done. So an excellent resource to look at, something that at some point you may actually want to submit to, you know, and submit some animation to that, which would be really fun. So, but just, you know, within that, something cool to think about, right? So we know where the files are. When you guys are, I'll add people to, you know, from the wait list on, and try and get everybody on today who wants to be in the class. You'd go to the modules. We also are going to have the occasional discussion, but just to make simple, I'm not going to have too much of these. I'm going to keep most of it in VoiceThread so that when you post, like I did this as a post, and you could see like, oh, we'll talk more about that. Like this is something I sculpted and textured. And I say, oh yeah, here it is. You know, here's some guys that, you know, I worked on, and what, you know, these are things I created. So tell me what, you know, like give me feedback, and this is my turn in. And then once you're all logged in and you're set up and you say, hey, I want to add to this update, that's where I'd go in. I'm just going to go through here because it's a lot easier. This program I have called XNView, which actually allows me to view and convert and have tons and tons of different file types. So I'm just going to move this over. And once I've made my thread, I would have clicked here once I'm registered and I'm in the, you know, the intro to animation summer. Made this especially for you guys. And then you click add your new thread, but once you have your thread, you can add to it. And then I click here and say, oh, you know what? I want to edit this and I want to add a new image. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to pull in my most recent render of my little friend and just drag him right into here. And it processes it. There it is. And I could tweak it out if I want to, give it a title, update, render, save. And then I just click return to group. And now when people go in and they check it, like me, who'll be coming in, then I can go in. Oops, and there it is right there. There's my most recent update of my sinister fellow, you know, so that's how I could show my artwork. And then whatever I worked on for this week, right? This is from an online class that I teach in digital sculpting. I did it for, so just something totally different, but I had the image, so I just tossed it in. Storage for these projects, SSD, larger, 512. You know, we're not going to be doing anything monstrous. So, of course, SSD is always fast, but basically what will happen is hard drive or SSD is totally fine. I would say that for this course, you really don't need anything more than 8 to 16 gigabytes free somewhere, right? The software is going to take up its own space, but for the work, you know, and just in general, like if you're working all entirely, Maya is probably going to take up about 5 gigs on your computer, and the work is not going to be that big because we're not like doing like hours of movie renders or anything like that. So you'll be good, you know, you'll be fine. VoiceThread, do I just make an account, or is there? Yes, there's going to be a group once you're inside of here and you go to the modules, and you can actually jump ahead right now, like once you're logged in. But when you actually do your first VoiceThread check-in, that's due this Sunday, is that correct? Yes. Oh, and that reminds me of something. Then you would click here to join the group. And then you would make your profile. And if you have any problems, just simply go to, remember you're submitting it up here as well. But VoiceThread is how we're going to look at it, critique it, stuff like that. And on that same note, what you want to do is not wait till Sunday to post up where you're at or what you've done. right? You want to post it earlier because one of the requirements is that you guys post every week and that you make at least 2 comments or on, a comment on 2 other people's posts, right? So post up, but then look at other people who've posted and give them some constructive feedback. Oh, I like this, or, oh, the scale on that might be a little bit off, or, or might want to make it a little bit thinner. It's not about being mean or just whatever. It's just constructive to make everybody's work better. Do not wait until Sunday, because then you won't have time for your first post. Remember, you can always update. So if you started working on it on Monday, then you should have something by Wednesday or Thursday that you can post up. And then you could continue to work on it and post the most recent update on Sunday, but don't wait until Sunday. So you want to have time that people can, comment on yours and that you can comment on people. It's not about who gets the furthest along, the earliest, and all that kind of stuff. This first week is just getting us started and set up and then jumping into Maya. But the first day, today and tomorrow, is about making sure you got the right computer, making sure you got the software downloaded so you can work. And if there's technical issues, we'll just deal with them as they come along. But that's the primary thing, So that's how you would actually, go in, and then you would just like, oh, I'm going to submit the assignment and I'm going to go to VoiceThread. And then I would, post that up, and then you can always add to it, just like I showed you, when you do updates, right? But it's not, do not feel bad or like, oh my gosh, this isn't where I thought it should be and blah, blah, blah. God, I have to fix that. That's what you want to make sure of. Okay. So post earlier, and then on Sunday, hop on, find 2 people's work, comment on it, and you're good. And you get full credit for that, right? These are the rubrics that you'll be seeing throughout the different assignments that you're posting. Most of the projects are just, when you click on it and you go to it, there's just going to be, oh, yep, I just did it. And then I go to the next one, right? It's not a submittal. It's just the fact that you checked it out and you went through it, and then I'll see if you actually did it, at least look through it. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you cannot make it to a Tuesday or Thursday class and you have questions, make sure to send me the question so that I can address it during those days, during the live session that I'm going to record. But the more that you can come, the better it's going to be. So, but I will work with you guys on weird schedules and stuff, but within reason, So, but that is going to be a thing that you get what you're going to put into it. Usually this class is 4 days a week, like 4.5 hours a day, so that is usually the amount of hours that you put into it. Okay. So if you have 2 or 3 classes that are of the same nature, you're going to be mighty busy. And you might want to think, I don't know, man, so, but that's one of those things. Usually during summer, this is the same number of hours, so theoretically you're doing 90+ hours in 6 weeks. Now, can you do less than that, of course, and still pass? Yes. Can you get an A for only putting in like a couple of hours a week? Probably not. So unless you're a savant and you just kind of kick in and you just like plow through things where you've done it before. So, but that's what you want to think about. Cool. Other questions? What you guys got? I'm so glad you guys showed up and popped in. I was like interested to see who'd be here. But this is going to be our forum Tuesdays and Thursdays that we'll be going to, and actually, meeting up and answering questions, and I'll do stuff in Maya and set you guys up. So, and answer whatever questions and do demonstrations, and I will show you some cool stuff. Yeah, Gina, it's being recorded, so you should be good. You should be fine. And if you have any questions, let me know. This is something that we don't go over, but I like showing cool stuff to kind of give you guys the ideas of what you can do later, as far as if you're thinking, oh, I want to go into digital art, I want to do this, I want to do that. So this is a program. We'll be, the Mudbox is a digital sculpting program. This is also a digital sculpting program called ZBrush. So if I will, at one point during the next few weeks, I'm gonna do a demonstration on sculpting, probably in the next week or two, probably next week, on what Mudbox can do, because it's a fun thing. And it's sculpting, so when you see characters and stuff, usually they use ZBrush, but sometimes they also use Mudbox. ZBrush is, let me just show you one of the things. Is a sculpting program that they use for movies and video games. And this is the girl that I'm actually working on. It's from the concept art of Fortnite. So I got the concept art and I essentially started sculpting my own version of her. And let's go to edit. So the concept art of her, oh, where is it? Let me just show you that. Here it is. Is this. I'm not finished with her yet, but this is the concept art of her. To give you an idea, let me just drop her to a more normal material. There we go. So you can kind of see I'm basing it loosely off of her. And we'll be talking about other industry stuff like ZBrush and like Mudbox. So where, you know, sculpting her or that guy I showed you earlier that I loaded up is literally from either a template, like a base mesh, or even a sphere. Like the guy's head with his eyebrow up was sculpted from a sphere. This was sculpted from many spheres, and starting to go in and get the details and started to do it. So I did, like, you know, just a version of her. And I'm kind of combining it between this one and another concept art that was for the same character, which is this. So I'm kind of going between both of these and taking aspects of both of them and incorporating it. Waist is somewhere in the middle here. It's like ridiculous. That's, you know, it ain't human. No, but it's a little weird. This one's nice, and I'm kind of going like, okay, I'm still tweak a few more things, but it's somewhere in the middle between these guys. And then just doing, you know, my own little spin on her. But this is also stuff we'll be talking about, you know, between modeling and animating and looking at a few cartoons during our live sessions to use as reference to kind of see, you know, classic Bugs Bunny and stuff like that. So when you're actually looking at stuff like this, this is, you know, just something to consider. It's like, it's all related. The movie stuff, the game stuff. I'm a gamer. I love, you know, CG and movies, obviously. So seeing that stuff, you know, and working with the software is a lot of fun. So it really gets you into that, you know. If you are going to drop the class, please drop it before the end of tomorrow, I think it is, or but tomorrow, simply because I wouldn't want somebody to have to pay you know, when you don't have to. Money is tight, especially right now with all the craziness going on. So we have to be mindful of that, you know. And there's no way for me to know if it is what you want. So I'm putting that responsibility on you. I'll try and drop you sooner, but if I don't see you showing up at all or posting or doing anything, but that is definitely something, you know, you're turning in stuff and using VoiceThread and checking in and doing stuff is your attendance. So if you disappear for a while, you know, from my end, it means you've disappeared. So make sure that you stay in contact with me, and that, you know, and if you need anything, let me know. Okay. So, but that's basically the general idea, so that I can actually track you, so I can actually make sure you're still there, so I can, you know, give you support and help you out with stuff. Make sure you don't get lost, you know. Plus in all this, even though things are lightening up in the isolation aspect, it's going to be a lot easier. You know, it gives you something to do that's kind of fun. So it'll be good, you know, to kind of keep plugging away with that. But I think that was pretty much, I think, everything I wanted to show. Do you guys have any other questions? You had some really good questions here. How do I get on to the digital or animation tools on Autodesk? You mean, how do you get Maya, or just? To get the free student license, that? For that, the quickest, easiest way is just to do a search, Autodesk Maya student free. And then you'll see, oh, Maya student and educator software, Autodesk, and you click on that. And then it takes you to this window, and that's where you create your account. And then you can download, you know. So you want to do that, because then you have the license for a year and you have full power and stuff. The free trial, I think it's only good for try Maya for a 1 month free. Okay. I'm wondering if it asks you to hey, I wanted you have to, yeah, I figured. You have to give your account, because then it's going to start charging you afterwards, which it's no. That's why it's just go in and get the free student version. Because otherwise the subscription is going to be, no, stop that. No, I was just checking. Otherwise the subscription is going to, and stuff is going to want to kick in. You know, so that's the only thing about that. So go for the free version. Which is this guy here. If you use LMC, it said it's good for a year and you get a license key. Booyah! That's it. As awesome. The Mudbox is the same way. Autodesk education license is, all those are free to a student. So all I'd have to do to get that, Autodesk Mudbox free student. And of course, sometimes it'll kind of wrap you around, but once you actually have it, you should be fine. And if you get the Autodesk, if you download, let me just show you. If I download the Autodesk launcher app, Autodesk launcher app, and install that, everything will come through there and it will make it a lot easier. Okay. So once you have your account, you've gotten Maya and your cell set up, then go through here and then you can, well, just get the Autodesk app and then you can, you should be able to access and find Mudbox. I was watching UV mapping. Good question. UV mapping is when you unwrap an object. So if I have a 3D model and I want to texture it, right? So for me to actually texture a 3D model, I actually have to do what's called UV unwrapping. And that's where you go in and you make a flattened 2D version of it that can be brought into another program so that you can texture it or paint it, whether it's for video games or for movies. And you use either Photoshop or you use, I like using a program called Substance Painter. And, you know, basically any of these sorts of programs. So here's some of my, like, you know, stuff that from things I've done either for class or that's for a student, but this is like something I modeled and lit and created, and that's inside of Maya, right? But for me to be able to texture these different models or characters I might have done, I have to UV map them. And when you UV map them, you make this is an example of a UV map. So if you look at this table, it's UV mapped. That means there's a two-dimensional version of it that is flattened out. The top of the table, the bottom of the table, the legs of the table, so that when I bring this template in, I can paint directly onto them. So the first step, if I were going to texture, we don't really get into it. I do it as an extra and I do it in Art 86, not Art 85, but this will, I get into it a little bit and I want to get into it more, but this will basically go in and allow me to then take either this as a template into Photoshop and paint it, or take it into a 3D program such as Substance, which is a program I have. And then I can do some really cool things in painting characters, painting objects, and for like next generation stuff or movie stuff at super high quality with all these details, like how shiny it is, how rough it is. So if I go in here and let me just open up one of my, just to give you an idea. Here's something that I painted inside of Substance. I modeled it out, I UV mapped it, and then I brought it into Substance so I could paint on it. So when it's actually, the textures are still loading. There we go. So now you can actually see, and I'm once again not done, but I started painting all the wood, the dirt, and on all these different layers of different objects. So the grass, the wetness, the mud, the moss that's coming up on stuff. I literally go in and paint on all these separate layers. So as you see, like, oh, let me start hiding some of these layers. You see that layer in itself is the wetness. This layer is the grass that I painted in. This layer is the mud. And when you look at the UVs, here's the UVs of that ground laid out flat. And this is what they do for video games and stuff. So when you're actually going in, excuse me, and you see like different things, like even a character or whatever, then the skin, the pores, the details that you do, you paint in these programs, and that's how you get those details out. And that's where like the real power starts to come in. So this was that female character that I had actually painted. And then once she was all done, this is what she started to look like as a finished piece. There's a better one of her. Where is that? So you can see the wireframe of how she was modeled, built cards for her hair. And then when I do like kick in and do a bigger render so you can see it and see the details, going in and adding the details, freckles, little beauty mole, a scar, where I want shine and wrinkles to be on the lips, subsurface scattering of light going through the nose because it's mostly cartilage and just kind of fatty stuff, like little veins in the eyes. She's fair skinned, so seeing the translucency and the wrinkles inside of there. Light coming back from behind her, coming through. So this is what's called subsurface scattering, where light is passing through a translucent surface and we can see wrinkles and the redness of the light coming through. So, and even like in here, if she's really fair skinned and she's young, you might see some of these little veins that are, kind of there in some areas. So basically going in and modeling and hand painting and doing all this stuff. But I have to UV map it before I can apply those textures and stuff to it so that I can get to that point. And it all is, it's a build. You model, you UV map, you texture, and then you start adding like all these little details and stuff to it, just like if I'm working on an environment of how I want to add that. And then I can pull it into a game engine. I can pull it into Maya for renders for movies. I can do whatever it is, that I want to do to it and to make it look more realistic. But it's the same process, and whether it's animating for one, animating for the other, modeling for one, modeling for the other, it's just a matter of a limitation of I can do more with a movie typically than I can for a video game, right? So, but yeah, that's what UV mapping and unwrapping actually is. What games do I play? Right now, me and my buddies are actually been addicted to playing The Division 2. So we've been playing a lot of that. But I play mostly, usually I don't have the time to jump into games that I like. I love a good RPG, so I'll play on my Switch on certain things. I play the heck out of Zelda and stuff like that, but I usually don't have tons of time. So jumping in on a game like that is just a lot easier. Hop on The Division or another buddy of mine, we play Wolfenstein Youngbloods, which is really fun for 2 players. And just kind of fun, quick, go nuts in it. What system? I actually have all the systems. You work in the game industry, you do that. But so I have, I used to play mostly on PC, and then I kind of, because I'm on the computer all the time, working and creating and doing stuff, I've always been also a console gamer, so I played both. I primarily use my Xbox, but I also have a PlayStation 4 Plus and the new systems I'm excited about. So I'll be getting both of those, not at the same time. I'll get my Series X first, and then I'll get my PS5 right at like maybe a few months after, or in June or something like that. But yeah, I love a good game as far as, on stuff like PlayStation. I love Uncharted and stuff like that. And on the Xbox, I use my Xbox way more, but I use my PlayStation for exclusives. And I just think that it's, you can't lose no matter which one you get. Both of them have their pluses and minuses, and you're going to have your preferences. Yeah, they're going to be pricey. But the funny part about that is, I know people, it is pricey, and I've been buying games long since probably some of you were even born. But, but I would say this is that it is kind of funny because people are like, oh my gosh, it's expensive. But then I've seen people buy a phone for like $1,200 and then replace it in 3 years. And I'm like, dude, that's insane. It's like, I'll pay for it, but and my game systems, I still have all my old game systems, so it's like I work the devil out of my game systems and play them to the ground. So I'll play a game system for pretty much a decade or so, or at least for several years. So I'm getting my money's worth out of it, as opposed to when I see people buying a new iPhone every year and I'm like, yeah, it's like, it's cool, but I'm gonna use my game systems a lot, so. But yeah, there's definitely some good games coming. So, yeah, Smash Brothers is pretty cool. I played that a lot too. But yeah, so I think that if you guys are playing games and you're doing stuff on there, it is definitely going to be the fun part of when you do animation and you do all this stuff. You're going to see that you're going to start to dissect a lot of your games and even movies to see how they did stuff. And once you get that, then you're going to be like, oh man, I see how they did that. I see how they did this texture. I see how they did that model. Oh, look at the polygons on it. You're going to be able to see that and look at it from a very different perspective. And that's kind of cool, so you'll see that. Class tournament, that'd be fun. How do I open, which software are you talking about for the download, like Maya, or is it, which one? Maya. It should give you like a little executable file, and then once you do the executable file, it just initiate that. The executable will be usually small, and then you run that, and then it'll download it and start installing it. So if you do that, then that should set everything up for it, and then you should be good. But once you get that executable file, like once you're all listed and you're set up and you got it, it usually sends you like this tiny little install file, and then you initiate that, and then you basically just got to let it download and install. And depending on how your internet is, it can take, it might take a little while, so, if you have a slower internet or wonky internet, then, basically just let your computer do what it's going to do and just let it run. If it's fast, it may not take that long. So, that's just one of those things where if you, just check that out and see, and just let it run. But it should, once you get it, there should be a download file that you actually see. And also, if you just get the launcher, you should be good, because the Autodesk launcher, you'd log in, and then once you're in the launcher, you can always access the, this is what I have installed. So I have like Fusion, Maya, Motion Builder, which is for mocap stuff, and Mudbox. But if I want to go like, oh, I only have Maya, I want to get Mudbox. Once you have this, you can go in, and then My Products and Tools, and then at the bottom, access my complete list of products and services. And when you click on that, it should give you this full-on list of all the software you have access to download. Okay, and then it would show up in here. If it doesn't, and then, oops, I'll hide that. If it doesn't, then you would, then you go to that other link, and then it'll show up in here. But this should show all of your downloads. Then you'd click on it, and then you'd be able to get your license, and then you'd be able to do it. Okay? And that's basically how you would get that. But so you can go through that account, you can go through here, and then you should be good. Let's see. Any other questions? Are you guys okay? Let's see. Some gaming banter and stuff, which is cool. But yeah, so that would basically be that. Try, if you haven't tried downloading it tonight. Do we learn to make games too? You know, the funny part is I talk about it, but that's a whole other topic. We have a game department, but for reasons that I will never understand, it's separated from the art department, which I think they should be connected. We really need to be connected. I used to direct a game art and design program, and I'm a part of a game art and design program now at another college. So it's weird to me, but we do basically, I to the best of my knowledge, we have a game department, and then we have our digital art department, and there's, you know, but they really should be connected. So we do have game stuff. If you take some of the game classes, I would take the digital art stuff, and then I've helped students with Unreal, like creating stuff on the side, or students that are in Art 86 to help them out. I heard Xbox and PC have crossed. Yeah, they're totally cross-platformed right now, and pushing that a lot. Plus, I've beta tested xCloud, which is awesome, which is streaming your Xbox games onto your phone or your iPad, and that's been pretty sweet. So there's a lot of cool stuff they're doing. But cool. Yeah, they both are gonna. Both systems are gonna be really good. It's just, you know, it's like which is better is like a matter of Coke and Pepsi. They both have their strong, you know, their good points and their challenges, you know, but I think either, regardless of which one's more powerful and which one has this, it's really going to boil down to what games you want to play and how you want to play them. You know, they both are going to be awesome. You can't go wrong with either one. They both are pretty sick. Yeah, as far as creative and traditional programming and traditional art, if you can do some programming and stuff, it will help you to create content afterwards, which is really cool. So that's just one of those things where, yeah, the more that you actually know, the better. You know, so then you can get into stuff like the Unreal Game Engine, and then doing stuff like that, you know. So if you can do stuff, or Unity or whatever programs that you're trying to use, that's just going to be really, really big for you to create and do that stuff. So I personally use the Unreal Engine, you know, a lot. So that has been my, you know, what I've been teaching for a long time. The same engine that uses a lot of big, you know, AAA titles and does some pretty insane graphics. You know, so doing that stuff is huge. You know, let's see, load that up. I'll show you this and then I'll cut you guys loose if you don't have other questions. But basically, yeah, just I would say for everybody, make sure that you download, you know, your download Maya. The other software that you'll need ultimately is the 7-Zip and Audacity eventually, but not yet. But Maya is the important one, the most important one. So see if your machine will run that, okay? And then judge based on what we talked about today and all the stuff, how much, it's a fun class. I've been teaching it for a while. We get to do some fun stuff. We have a few yucks. We look at, cartoons and stuff like that. If you can get the other stuff, that's great. But Maya is the the bear in the room. So if you can get Maya running, everything else is going to run. Maya is the one that's going to beat your computer into submission if it's going to do it at all. So if you can get Maya to run, then you're fine. I will show, this is the question, we'll learn how to make anime characters. You mean like 3D anime characters or just like 2D anime? I mean, basically, I will show you what Mudbox is, and which is similar to ZBrush. I will have like a one fun day where we'll do a little bit of Mudbox, and I can show you how to sculpt it so that you guys can start to create some cool stuff. It's not really part of the class, but it's a fun extra for something to think about. Now that's creating it and rigging and animating it are two different things, or three different things, I guess, because there's a process in character development. You come up with a concept first, and then from that concept, then you have to model it out. And then once you model it out and optimize it, then you texture it. Once you texture it, you have to rig it, which set up the bones and the controls to animate it. Once you set up the bones and controls to animate it, then you rig it, then you animate it, and then you would do whatever you want. But the design itself and sculpting it is typically in something like ZBrush or Mudbox, or and spending a little bit of time in Maya as well. So we'll discuss it. It's not like I go over it a little bit more of in Art 86, which is my students who like come in afterwards and and do that. So once everybody like, okay, I kind of know some Maya and I'm doing stuff and whatever, and then you have a lot more control over it. This I'll talk about this, but this is the Unreal Engine, the same engine that they use for lots and lots of games. And this is the level that or the environment that I created. And I had to UV map it, I had to texture it, and then I used this as an example in my one of my classes at one of the other colleges I teach at, where you can kind of see, I go over like, how to make particle systems, how to texture, how to bring this stuff in, lighting, and then doing all that stuff. So, and I have some of my artwork, actually on the walls. If we look close, we can see things like the plants animated slightly, like a slight breeze. But it all starts with modeling, whether it's a character or an environment, and then you get into the ideas and stuff like that and creating stuff. And then you can build your worlds as you see fit. But some cool ideas. So start, once you have access, if you don't have it yet, start looking through the tutorials, or start looking, module by module, or just like, or assignment, post by assignment post. This next 2 weeks, we're just working on the room module. So, don't worry, you can glance, but don't worry too much about the other stuff, So this stuff will be accessible. This is what we're working on for right now. And then when you get to that point, then you want to log in to and register at VoiceThread so that you can upload stuff to there as well. Cool? Oh, Angel. It depends. Like I said, we're not gonna be like doing anything monstrous. But it does need to run it. So when we do a quick render, we're going to do a simple render. We're not going to be pushing a lot of polys, but it just needs to be able to run the software. And that's what you're checking on, right? So if it is able to run it, yes, check out the graphics card. That is the biggest thing. And if you're like, well, you know, if it's a higher end, it may work. But that's where you have to download it and then just try it out and see. And if it runs, you can open it up. And what I would suggest is if you get it and it opens up, is go to open it up, go to Files, Maya Files, and download the house start file. That's a Maya file. So once you have it down, if Maya downloads, it installs, and it's running, you're already, you know, ahead of most. And download this file, LMC house start. And then when you're in Maya, import it in, or you could just like load it in. We'll talk about there's a way where you want to put it, like projects, but we're just talking testing right now. So you go into Maya. Oh, I have so many things open. It's like I'm recording. I have ZBrush. I have Unreal. I've got Maya. We're talking crazy, man. So it's an MA file, so you can just go File, Open, and grab that file and load it up. And if it loads, and the way you navigate is hold down Alt, left mouse button to rotate around, Alt middle mouse to pan, and Alt right mouse to zoom in and out. And I'm moving my mouse left to right while holding down Alt and the right mouse button. Alt right mouse, middle mouse, left mouse. And I could select something. Oh, I want to focus in on his head. So I'll select that and let go of everything, and then just press F, and it focuses on his head, whatever I had selected. Focus on her, F. And that's how you kind of do it. Deleted the grab tool. Oh, you mean in the sculpting? Oh, gotcha. You'd have to reload it. So what you would have to do is, if you get rid of this tool by accident, you have to go in here. Like if you deleted it out of the sculpting tool, you would delete the shelf, and then you'd have to go back and load the shelf and find the sculpting tool. Where are you? Sculpting, not sculpting RES, but just sculpting.mel, and open that up, and then that'll load it. And that's how you would replace it if it's gone. You can also add it back in, but that's a way of, like, if your tools are acting, your shelf tools are acting weird. Otherwise, if you you'd have to dig and find which tool you're looking for and Control Shift left mouse to add it to the shelf that you're going in. Hopefully it will come again soon. No, oh, good question about the book. Everything is in video format and during live sessions. There's no requirement for a book, because I figured, you know, you guys might be like, oh crud, I need to get more RAM or something like that or whatever. However, I do suggest some books if you need help, that if you want to actually go ahead and try to get them. And I think I sent them, I think they're posted. But I think it was, yeah, like this one, even though we're using Maya 2020, so something like the Autodesk Maya 2019 Basics Guide. You know, some of these, if you have Kindle, those are cool. Anyone that will just help you out. This one is good because it's very well rounded and you can do a lot of stuff within it. But I'm not requiring it, but as, I haven't checked this one out, but as a, I believe I do have a list, you know, and this was the book that I'd primarily kind of suggested. The school may have older versions of the Quick Start Guide to Maya, like in our bookstore, because I had them get a bunch of those. There are a few versions old, but they would still be useful. Just understand there's a couple of things that have changed in Maya, so the icons might look, some of them may look a little bit different because they did a change. It's still more of the same. You know, we'd go to the polygon modeling menu right here for the first week, and then we'll start working with different shelves for animation. So you can get one of those if you're like, oh man, this is, you know, I really want to get deeper into it, or I want to be able to, I need that book to kind of look, but I don't make it a requirement because, yeah, I have so many videos for you guys and I answer a lot of questions during our live sessions. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. Anything else? We're hitting our 2 p.m. mark. Are you guys good? Feeling good? Sweet. So what I would do, like I said, I will send this link out in just a little bit so that you guys can go through it and then see. And if you have questions, let me know. So everybody will get, you know, this video so that if there's something, you know, like, what was it? But yeah, it's basically the video card that you're looking for. If you're in doubt, go in and just try to download it. I mean, the worst that'll happen is it won't work. But the way that you're most likely for it to work is just if you have a decent video card. Oh, good question. Will the Canvas discussion board be enough to ask me questions? You know what? You can send it inside of Canvas. That'd probably be easier. It's just through the inbox. Just because I like using the discussion board in here, but this is not the cleanest interface when we actually do it and we start doing it, and it's kind of easy to get lost. So if you want to be safe, yeah, you could post it like a reply or something inside of here for a Q&A. But just go through the inbox and that'll probably be easier, because when I go to my inbox, it immediately pops stuff up and it's a lot easier. And my school email, because of COVID and because of everything going on and the fact that I teach at multiple schools and I'm looking at multiple inboxes, you know, I am so overrun by emails that are not always pertinent to me. Yeah, it takes me forever to find the student emails and stuff. So So what you can do is, yeah, just shoot it in here, and this is just simply straight to me in Canvas. And then when I go to my inbox and then I see it, it's a whole lot easier, and it's only students, and I can focus on you guys rather than 50 million other chain linked emails that I'm getting from every department at every school. So just send it through there. And then that'll be typically a lot easier, just to kind of kick that in. And then once we get the ball rolling and we're all settled, I'll give you guys a couple of other ways of reaching me. But for right now, that is probably the quickest, easiest way, is just to go through the inbox through there. And then just set it up in there for my students who are on the wait list before, if I missed it or you're not up there yet and you want to send it, send it through the inbox, through email. But the quickest, easiest way when you're doing it through email, put in the subject that you're a student. Say student, and put that in the subject. And then those are the ones I look for first, because I always want to look at what the students have to say or what problems or questions they have before everybody else, So that way, when I'm looking through a sea of, 100 emails in one day, I can just look at, student question, you guys are first. Let me check that first. And then just kind of go through there. So, but that'll basically be it. And that should set you up. Cool. Anything else? You guys, here's one. Oh yeah, definitely. Sweet. I look forward to working with you guys and seeing what you can do. It's always a fun class. It is. Sometimes a little stressful because of technology and stuff, but download it, send me messages. I will be checking them tonight, amongst other things. I also have to check in on my online classes, but and if it's important and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like things are going weird, make sure student and put urgent in the subject matter so I can actually look, and I will highlight you, quickly. Okay. All right, you guys. So if there's no other questions, I will see you tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Where we'll do a check-in, see how everybody's doing, because we'll still have just a wee bit of time if there's anything weird going on before, students drop and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have just a wee bit of time before then, but make sure to get that stuff checked out before you go forward. And have a great evening. I will send this link out. You guys will be good. And take care. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Great.
See you all later.
Later, everybody.